We're live on a Saturday. This is the Rich Lieberman Bay Area and sometimes national, international media pulse. I am astounded that this alleged news radio station is still operating, and I'm going to hold them to account because apparently nobody else is either interested or seems to think they're worthy. KCBS is the alleged all news radio station for the 22 of you that listen to terrestrial radio, but they have run a story to death. Now, they do this all the time, but not to this magnitude, which further indicates the degree of incompetency, of, shall we say, unprofessionalism, of the fact that they long ago lost whatever credibility that they had and are now merely on the airwaves out of just sheer, they're there. What are they going to do? They have a license, I guess, but it's very pathetic. It is embarrassing. It is incomprehensible. Well, what, Rich? What's the story that they ran over 20 times? Well, it began on Friday as a lead story, and I picked this up around 4 o'clock, so drive time. They had a lead story, the Golden State Valkyries. That's the new WNBA team in the Bay Area. They're owned by the NBA, the Warriors, and they will play out of Chase Center, the big arena in the downtown area. So they had some story about an amateur draft. Excuse me, it'll come to me in a second. They had a draft, and this is a new team, and so nobody, frankly, knows about this team. And look, the WNBA is becoming more popular, women's sports, which I have nothing against. Fantastic. They run this story at 4 o'clock. Then they ran it again. And then they ran it again. And they ran it at the bottom of the hour. Then they ran it again around 6 o'clock. It was the lead story. They ran it again. Then they had another story at 6 o'clock. And here's the deal, folks. Not only do they run the story, they run the same story. It wasn't even a rewrite. They kept running the same story over and over to this reporter that they sent to the Valkyries, which they don't even have any, well, they have players now. It was the expansion draft that came to me eventually. They made it sound as if it was, I don't know, a tsunami. Wait a minute. Oh, yeah, I shouldn't use that word, tsunami. KCBS and tsunamis are like a love story. They screwed that story up too. They ran that over and over and over. A story that never, frankly, happened. It didn't happen. It was a warning. But this Valkyrie story, over 20 times into the night, into the early morning hour, and yet even again on Saturday into the afternoon and probably into the evening. At this point, over 20 times. I have asked repeatedly, does anybody at KCBS have any degree of common sense? Are you just so much into the abyss that you have no degree of the obvious, Captain Obvious, anything? They keep running the same story over and over and over and over and over. Again, I make it a habit to get away from these kinds of targets, but they keep making it so damn easy for me. When you run a story, a lead story, frankly, that nobody cares about, a few people might, but when you run to death, you defeat the purpose. Don't you have any other stories you could run? You're part of Odyssey. For now, they still have features from CBS. You can run whatever, any number of features, you know, science topics, politics. There's a big story, international news taking place in Syria, where rebels are taking over the country. You could do interviews. You could talk about tsunamis. You could talk about anything. You could talk about Bugs Bunny or that movie that's out right now that's getting a lot of play, Wicked. You run the same story over and over and over. It is frankly beyond embarrassing. It is pathetic. It is laughable. It is unintentionally maddening, yet KCBS continues to be KCBS. What a total out and out abomination.